Alright, everybody, if you like this podcast, make sure to support your boy by going to Amazon and maybe buying one of my poetry books. Just look up Fernando Correa Gonzalez and they will pop up immediately. If not, you can always just go to my blog, fencorrea.weebly.com/blog. That is FENCORREA.weebly.com/blog to look up all my independent journalism. And yeah, enjoy.
I think we're recording. Yes, we are recording.
Cool.
FENcast. I am here with whom?
Sofía Higgins, or Sofía Alfaro. Sofía Higgins, or however people really know me as.
So Sofía is good, but the other additional names would also work out?
Sorry, what?
If I call you Sofía, would that be enough, or should I call you?
Sofía's fine.
Okay, cool. So how you doing?
I'm good. I have 1 week left of classes, and then I'm good to go, and I'm on summer vacation, so I'm basically just trying to survive this last week.
Are you staying over in Chicago, or are you gonna take some Puerto Rican summer vacation, or?
I'm gonna be visiting Puerto Rico for 2-3 weeks, in May, as soon as I get out, and then I'm gonna be back in Chicago because I need to work, all that stuff.
Okay, cool. So I think the first time I noticed your work was on Tumblr, and it was photography, I believe.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, how did you get into photography?
Whew, that is ages ago. Let's see. To my memory, I was in the 8th grade, and my friend had introduced me to DeviantArt, and I just was exploring, and then I found this photographer's page who I really liked, and so, I messaged her, and we became friends, and she was like, you should try photo out, and so I did, and at the time I only had a compact camera, the ones you bring on family vacation way back when. iPhones weren't as accessible. And then slowly, I started upping, I got a DSLR, and then, I got Photoshop, and then I got a better camera and lenses, and just kept exploring, just getting better, I guess.
Would you say that was your first artistic medium that you explored?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that for sure.
At that time, were you also practicing film or video art?
No, I was strictly a photography person. My idea of what contemporary art was close to none. Is close to very what we think classically of what art is, painting and drawing. So video art didn't really exist to me at the moment. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Entiendo. So when did you arrive to film and video art?
Well, currently I'm at the School of the Art Institute. I started here in 2016, and I began here in photo department, and then about a year and a half in, so my first semester sophomore year, I'm in 2 photo classes, and I'm in an intro to film class. And I'm having more fun in my film class, and I realized I don't want to do photo as, at least not as the main part of my practice anymore. I am more interested in video art and new media and stuff. And so I kind of just I still take photos all the time. When I'm out, I have my camera on me. It's not like I stopped. But I am more actively a video person. So I think for about a year and a half, I've been doing video work now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You mentioned new media. Were you always attracted to it, or did you find your passion for it right there in college?
I think I found my passion here for it in college, just 'cause like I said before, my idea of like what contemporary art was is very narrow and very like classical in terms of what we think of art as, you know. So like now I'm like, because I'm in this like, you know, museum institution setting that's like very much heavily focused on contemporary art, I am constantly like being introduced to all these new things and all these new topics. New media was one of the first terms that I was like, what even is new media? So and now I'm in that department. I'm in the film, video, new media department. So it's pretty funny.
Nice, good. Have you seen any particular film or video art or new media or artist who has greatly influenced you?
Well, I'm very much all over the place. I give part of the credit to like how I turned to video new media to my friend, like an amazing artist, Jess Darnell. She does these video collages that like will blow your mind and are just like so intense and gorgeous. And from there, you know, I'm really into these days Sarah Meganhamer. I'm like looking into like glitch and like dirty new media right now. So like John Cates is something that I'm looking at. So I'm always gonna be attracted to Sadie Benning's work. Beautiful, very much the beginning of like what we think of as new media too.
Recently you founded or co-founded La Revuelta.
Yeah.
How has that come about, and what is the purpose of the zine?
Well, Revuelta was like this like manic baby that I had in conversation with a friend of mine, Xavier Aymar, who's in Grandpa, and we were just had been thinking about like the state of like art on the island, and I was talking to other like people, you know, on the west side, talking like involved in the art community, and I realized there's like a lack of accessibility, and I feel like as someone who like grew up in a sort of artist community, I guess, like I feel like I was pretty active. If there was more sort of communication, more participation amongst us, I feel like that would have like really benefited me in my practice and like other people's as well. And so like the goal of this is just to like not only like give exposure to these like young emerging artists or established artists or whatever, but to just like to build foundations for like a way to communicate and learn from each other, because like if that's the only thing I've learned from being in an artist community like now, is just like the importance of relationships with other artists.
Yeah, I mean, gracias a eso, I believe the boom that's currently happening in the island, a large part of it is due to that. Te iba a preguntar, aside from photography, film, video art, new media, and now you're getting with La Revuelta, which would be sort of kind of like editing in a way.
Yeah.
Have you considered writing yourself or any other medium?
I do tend to write. It's like I wouldn't consider my writing part of my practice. Like if you go on my website, you can't really find my writing anywhere. I like try to implement it into like my video and new media work and stuff. But I'm heavily since I'm going to be stuck here all summer. I'm heavily contemplating starting to learn how to screen print and like implement my writing into that as getting it out, because I don't think I'm strong enough as a writer to like just publish my writing, but I feel like if in combination with other mediums, I feel like it would definitely like push it forward.
Nice. So mixed media in a way too.
Yeah, mixed media. I'm all about like mixing things, like making these like taking these like established mediums and changing it or like fucking it up or whatever, and like instead of like thinking of it as like a newer version, just thinking of it as something new altogether.
Gotcha. Earlier we talked about some of your artistic influences, but could you tell me what inspires you on a daily basis?
On a daily basis? Wow. I'm really mainly inspired by like what I'm reading. Like and I hate to sound like a pretentious like bookworm and stuff, but like I'm always constantly reading just because I feel like text, even if it's not like creative text, like they tend to typically be now like essay books. I'm like the person that reads essay books for fun now. But usually like text relating to like the themes and subjects I'm like thinking about or interested in usually start to like push out like a baby of sorts. So I had been reading, let me pull up this. I give a presentation in my class that lists my interests, so this is like perfect timing. Finally, so let's see if like for example, for the last video that I just completed, Off the Highway Like Another Deer, which is like a 9 video collage. I was reading a lot of Kathy Acker, who's a novelist and like an experimental playwright. Camille Paglia, who's a women's studies essayist, very outspoken. Julia Kristeva, you know, like, and like I take from all these like different like disciplines, and like I'll watch like Real Housewives of New York and justify it as research, and I don't know if it's much as research, but like I feel like, you know, inspiration comes from like everywhere, so it's kind of just like how you curate your life, and I don't feel like, you know, Real Housewives is any better or worse than like, you know, an essay book by Julia Kristeva. I mean, one obviously has its like merits, like more like bluntly put out front, but like I feel like there's like a lot to gain from everything.
Gotcha. So would you say that your creative process is more spontaneous, or would you say that you tend to be a little bit more organized? How would you describe your creative process?
I would describe it as obsessive. Once I start with something, like once I hatch an idea, I like can't stop. So like I'll be on a walk on vacation in like middle of nowhere, Colombia, and then I'll be typing in on my phone and be like, but this and this stuff and these, but this carries this, and you know, whatever. So like it definitely does come spontaneous, but like it's always like on the back burner in my mind, like what I'm working on and like relating things back to whatever, you know, whatever I feel is relevant to my practice.
Gotcha. Would you say that at times it doesn't let you sleep at night? Because I feel like I get obsessed with some of my work too, and at times if I don't get the notes down, I just can't sleep at night. Would you say that happens?
Yeah, I would say that happens. It tends to keep me up, because I just want to accomplish so much. So like I've learned that like what works for me is to like work until I burn myself out and put myself in a corner, and I can't work on it for a while. I can't look at it for a while. So like, you know, I like refresh what I like my view on what I've been doing by not looking at it, and you know, regenerate my strength at the same time. Because like if I'm not working on it constantly, it like gives me stress.
Gotcha.
which seems unhealthy, but it's just the way I like learned to work.
Sofía, I identify with this, with your message right now a lot. Por algo estoy haciendo mucho podcasting recently. Y por eso mi tesis se ha tardado tanto también. Would you say that your work is then a reflection of you?
Would I say what?
That your work, is it a reflection of you?
I would definitely say so. I mean, my work is like definitely influenced by like higher themes, you know, like, you know, objection and capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's definitely directly related to like my life and my experiences. Even if I'm not like, you know, saying so, like, even if there's not a capital I in, you know, the sentence, like, it's definitely somewhat related to life in some ways. So like, you know, I guess like take in my work with a grain of salt or something.
Entiendo. So based on, you live in the diaspora right now, but based on what you can see through the internet or what people tell you, what do you think about the state of the arts in Puerto Rico?
I genuinely believe that there is more happening than I can see just because of like word of mouth, because I am still heavily in contact with people like often enough, and just like the friends that I have are artists, so I see them constantly making things. But so I feel like it's flourishing. I just feel like there's not an online connection right now that brings those part of the diaspora and those still on the island, and I feel like that's the main area that we as like an artist community need to like bridge together. Because we have definitely a lot to learn from each other, I feel.
So in order for it to grow, you would say that communication is key right now?
Yeah, I think communication is key, and it like breaks my heart when I'm like on Twitter and I see this like Puerto Rican from New York, so like, you know, like a New Yorican, but still Puerto Rican nonetheless, you know, speak in like Spanglish, but it's a Spanglish different than like on the island Spanglish, you know? And like people replying like, that sounds disgusting, it's terrible, and I'm like, lest we forget, everyone finds our Spanish disgusting. Like, well, not everyone, but you know, like this isn't the time to pick and choose between like pastelillo and empanadilla and whatever. Like that really is like kind of like, it's funny, but it's like not a serious issue. Like I feel like we need to like be more present with each other and understand that like being part of like this diaspora is like a unifying thing, and not even like amongst Puerto Ricans, like amongst all Latinx people, amongst like the Venezuelans that like have moved to Colombia, that have moved to the United States, like the Mexicans too, and like, you know, all these others, Pacific Islanders and everyone. Like, you know, the diaspora is bigger than Puerto Rico, and I think like we're very much segregated from the rest of them just out of habit, and I think it's something that we not do anymore.
Yeah. It is, we are a type of diaspora that is definitely unique in a way, because we can just go there and come back, unlike others who just face deportation or stuff like that. What would you say is the state of the arts of Puerto Ricans and Latinos in your location right now?
Well, for me, it's sadly hard to say that because, like, you know, even though I am part of this arts community, I am very privileged in that I get to go to like one of the best art schools in the world. And so because of that, you know, financial like dynamics come into play, and so like as a result, it's mainly like white American students and international students, so like Korean students and Chinese students that like make up the majority of SAIC, the School of the Art Institute. So there's not a lot of like, not that there's a lack of Latino artists, because I know their share of like Latino, like Latinx artists like in SAIC and just like the community in general. but it's definitely like a niche community that is harder to like find. But at the same time, I feel like it's going good. It's very hard to like navigate making art in the like living in the United States as like Latinx instead of like making art in your home country, in your home Latinx country. Like they're very different arts, and I feel like a lot of us are having trouble. At least I'm having trouble in terms of navigating that, because we are expected to like, you know, I'm not just like Sofía Alfaro artist, I'm Sofía Alfaro Puerto Rican artist, you know, and like, you know, my counterpart, my white, you know, counterpart is just like John Smith artist, you know. Why doesn't he get labeled, you know, like American artist or queer artist? Like, why do I have to wear my identity as, you know, my forefront? Like, why is it just me? So, you know, it's like, it's kind of like this weird anti-progressive, like neoliberal thing that SAC is going through right now, where identity politics like overrules class politics. So, you know, what matters is what you're saying about what like sex, gender, like race you are, instead of just like your overall experience. And that's really like a detriment to like all communities, but it's what is expected of us from like us like marginalized people.
Yeah, like quizás they don't see us as, well, not me specifically, but Latinos in the States and other minorities. Like, again, lo ponen como not humans, but you have your issues, therefore you will be identified with these issues. Yeah.
Exactly. And like I have no qualms about like, you know, make art, like I haven't done it, but like making art about like Hurricane Maria or like my Puerto Rican identity. But it's like, it's what's expected of us. Like we don't have like the range apparently to make art about just being like a woman, for example, or about capitalism, for example, or whatever it is that we're, you know, exploring in our practice. Like it always has to be tied into who we are. And it's, most of the like Latinx artists that I know don't play into that. They very much hold their ground, and they're just like, I'm just making art. Like I'm not a Latinx artist. Like I'm just an artist. But like I know us drink the Kool-Aid and just like, you know, like, so it becomes like, it's, I mean, you know, it's your practice, you do what you want, but like, you know, it's very tricky to navigate like a largely like white institution as like, I don't want to say a foreigner, but as like a marginalized body.
Yeah. So would you say that that's one of the cons of being a Puerto Rican Latinx artist in the States right now?
No, I don't think it's a con. If anything, it's made me more aware of like the dynamics in the art world, and like, you know, I am supposed to be grateful for like, and I am, you know, of like the position I'm in and going to the school and like, you know, being this artist and I have all these resources and stuff, but like because of it, because of, you know, the comments that sometimes I receive in class or outside of class, like it's made me more aware of how, you know, the art world really works, at least in Chicago, for like Latinx people. So, you know, I don't want to say like it's made me a better, smarter artist, but I feel like I just like not can see more than other people or anything. Like I'm not better than other people, but I just feel like, you know, it's someone else has to be aware of like this issue, and like, you know, white people are not. They're not aware of like the problems they're making and stuff. And we get a lot of like complaints about like, you know, like it's a lot of like snowflake culture. I hate to use that term, but like it's a lot of complaining about like this isn't safe, this is trauma, this is that, and it's like, no, you know, you have to take everything as it comes. If you have a problem with anything, you know, have a discussion. Don't just like complain. Like it's, you know, it's a very millennial thing. Like people I'm like around right now, which is fine because
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm rambling.
Don't worry. What would you say are some of the pros and cons of being an independent artist?
I mean, being an independent artist is lovely because, like, you get to make what you want without, like, considering, like, how your audience will, like, view your shit. Like, you know, I think the worst thing you could do is just, like, make art and then keep in mind how your, like, parents are gonna, like, look at your work, because if, like, you know, I was constantly thinking about, like, how my work was perceived by my parents, I wouldn't be making the work I was making.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have the freedom to explore and, like, brand yourself as, like, the type of artist you want. And the cons are, you know, well, it's, like, harder to be, like, self-starter, like, entrepreneurship like that. But at the same time, like, I forgot what I was going to say. Wait, give me 1 second. It's harder to, like, to get yourself started and stuff, but I feel like, I mean, the joke is, like, you know, you're an art student, you're going to be broke for the rest of your life, and, like, we all make jokes about that, and it's deep inside, we probably know it's true, and that's okay, you know, I don't think about, like, the monetary, like, compensations or the financial, like, things I'm going to have to deal with. Like, right now, I'm just, like, thinking about art, being independent, and just, like, doing my thing and, like, taking it as it comes. Like, I'm trying not to stress over my student loans.
That is one of the biggest issues all millennials face. So, not only artists, we all face it. What has been your best or worst experience so far within the arts?
Within the arts?
In
like, terms of what?
I don't know, maybe your best experience was you managed to make a 30-minute video art piece, or your worst experience was that you finished said art piece, but you couldn't present it because, I don't know, the projector was not working or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe you got some awesome feedback which inspired you to continue even more.
Let me think. I feel like, you know, it's largely, like, you know, best, worst. It's kind of like how you tend to, like, process and use what, like utilize what happens to you and what is told to you, like, in critiques and stuff. So, like, you know, if you think a bad critique is, like, detrimental to you in, like, a bad time, then please take into consideration who is critiquing you. You know, like, I'm gonna evaluate, like, my professor critiquing me over, like, my mom critiquing my work, like, very differently. But I feel like, let's see, my best moments, I don't know, it's kind of like maybe getting what's the word for this? Being made, what a word. Like, feeling, like, legitimized by, like, a superior of yours, like a professor or something. So, like, the other day, is that my best experience, actually? No, that's not my best experience. Okay, I got a better best experience. I'm doing, it's a mix of my worst and best experience. It's my life-changing experience. So I'm a sophomore again, and I'm doing this photo series about trauma, and it's coming out terrible, and I don't know what's wrong, and I'm freaking out. And I'm ashamed to show it in class. Like, it's super terrible. Like, I will not show this to anyone ever again. But, and at the same time, in another class, I'm working on a video piece, which is like, it's like a video collage shot all by my friend of me in these wigs, and I'm, like, mocking / paying homage to, like, these different Tumblr aesthetics that lived, you know, once upon a time. And I think the worst moment there was realizing that, like, I had made a grand mistake in labeling myself Sofía the photographer instead of Sofía the artist. You know, it's like, it took me, it takes a lot of people a while to, like, be comfortable with like actually calling themselves an artist. So when I realized, when I was finished shooting the video, I realized that the video was like great and, you know, so funny and so lively and, you know, something that like, I don't know if I can say has been done, but, you know, something that's like fresh and like a breath of fresh air. So like, you know, the best part of that is realizing like I have the range for so much more. How dumb of me to like limit myself to like, you know, one medium. You know, I have these hands, I have a spine that can do so much. Like I can, like if I want to make like a zip file of like a book and, you know, it's like whatever, you know, and I have all my art in there, like, and I make GIF art and stuff and that's my piece, then that's fine. You know, I don't have to like follow these like classical like rules of what art is and what art isn't. And like that moment was when I realized that. So it was like, I was like, I'm not a photographer anymore and I'm crying, and at the same time like I'm just an artist and that's lovely. So I guess that's it.
Yeah. I identify with you a lot regarding this experience, because I've noticed recently that whenever I meet new people who are artists who I follow or admire or whatever, they seem to forget that I'm also a poet. They know me more as the podcaster or the interviewer or the journalist. So I guess that they kind of look at me as someone outside looking in instead of someone inside trying to look deeper into what everybody's doing. So I guess I have to make some changes as far as fan / what is my title as a person.
Yeah.
Which I guess also goes with identity politics, no? But
yeah, definitely identity politics. It's a very hard conglomerate. Like the cards we've been dealt, it's very tricky to navigate like who we are in this world and what we want to call ourselves.
Yeah. You were mentioning you mentioned GIF art. Yeah. I had never heard of it as art, more so like content. What do you think about the word content and how it is being used today? Because I feel like there's this distinction being made where art cannot be separated from content, and content is just like the biggest umbrella term for everything that's media, literature, etc., etc., etc. So the question would be, what do you think about the word content in the spectrum of the arts?
I'm under the firm belief that like if you write something and you call it a poem, it's a poem. You know, if you make something and you want to call it art, it's art. Granted, you know, maybe a lot of it's not like good art, but like I you know, it's a matter of like intention and process, and instead of like, you know, like final product. And so I mean, we live in a very much like a mass consumption of media. And like media content these days. Like this is what we do. We're constantly on our phones, whether we like acknowledge it or not. We are constantly online. So I don't want to say, you know, content like define it in terms of like capitalism or anything, because the art world is such a capitalist institution too. Like we can't forget, like, you know, the main drive of the art world is to make money and stuff. So it's not, you know, financially driven either. Like the difference, I feel like it's mainly placed on our self definition of like what is what. So I mean, what I was making. Let's see, if I was making GIF art, you know, if I was just making like GIFs from like Endgame, for example, would I call that like art, or would I call that content? I feel like I would call that content, but I'm just, you know, like making things, but that could also become art if I wanted to call it that, you know. And I think it's a very blurry line for a lot of us, because a lot of us have these like very high standards of what we consider art and what we don't consider art. So I think we're like now again in like a moment of like redefining what is what, because like, let's see, for like in the 80s and the 70s and the 80s, like new media became a thing, you know. It was hard to consider it art because it's just like, what is this garbage, you know? But like now it's like, you know, we have like Namjoon Paik and we have Stan Brakhage and all these people that were like, yes, this is art. So like, you know, what's stopping gifts from being art? Really, it's a matter of us deciding what, you know, what is art, what isn't.
So it's more like
and it's like, you know, it's like we consider like art like what's in these like white boxes, these plain white boxes, you know, with price tags and whatever, these like fine institutions like galleries and museums and stuff, and like that's not art. Like art also lives underground. Art lives in bars. Like the music that's played is art. Like the photographs that are sold there, the prints, that's also art. All because it's not like in this refined institution that like not everyone has access to. Doesn't mean it's not art. You know, I feel like we very much live in like the art was classes and like inaccessible in that sense. For like, you know, labeling what is art and what isn't.
Yeah. So sería más, at least from your perspective, more about how you define one term from the other.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, in terms of like process, you know, like I feel like intention and process making really defines like what is art and what isn't. I don't have those balls to like to say what is art and what isn't, because like I'm making a bunch of like nonsense and I want to call it art, so I'm calling it art, and like other people are accepting it as art because I say it's art, you know. But I'm also following the standards of what is already understood as like new media art too, you know. So if I come out with screenshot like poetry from like text message screenshots, for example, and I call that art, would you think that's up to you? If I label it art and I put it in like a book, if I put it in, I make these fine prints of it, it becomes art, you know.
You mentioned Stan Brakhage. Would you say that he inspires you as an artist as well, or no?
I mean, I definitely find inspiration from just like how like crazy like process wise he made stuff. He also taught at FASU, which is cool. But like process wise and just thinking wise, like I have a essay book of his that I love, that I just go back to a lot because, you know, he like his mind is like but like in terms of like his works and stuff, do they inspire me? It's not really like my same like alley. I think I'm like very much a millennial in terms of like how I create my work and like what aesthetics and like what like what themes I'm thinking about in my work.
Yeah, I take it. I mean, he was one of the first, when I was studying the film certificate in colegio, he was one of the first experimental filmmakers who blew my mind when I found out that he would just paste the mock wings to the film. That shit would just blow my mind.
Yeah, so and it's all about process, you know. It's literally just like, you know, a celluloid film and moss, and, you know, what comes out of it is this gorgeous thing, you know, that, like, I know you've seen, you know, that it's, like, it's crazy, and it's, like, now that it's, like, in a fine art, like, setting, we consider it art, but, like, back then, it was, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. The same thing happened when I found out, when I watched Casey Neistat's show on HBO, and when I started watching his first short films, it was again the question of, what is this? Is this short film? Is this experimental short film? But now that I'm having this conversation with you, I guess I can understand that it's more a part of what is now new media. Like those were like baby steps in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, what would be your goal with your work as of right now?
My goal with my work?
Yeah. If you have a goal right now, like what type of message would you like to provide, or what would you like people to do with your work? You know, that type of stuff.
I feel like right now I am just beginning to like really understand my practice and stuff, like really well, and like where I am and like what my interests are. So it's like hard to say what my goals are. I want us to like the main themes I work with basically are like I feel like teenage like girls are very much just like, you know, labeled as like dumb and just like put aside as these like trivial things that like, you know, and we're like capitalized. Well, I can't say we anymore, but like, you know, they're capitalized on, you know, like we sell an identity to them that like I don't have an identity, but I can buy a cool jacket that makes me feel like I have one, you know. So I want to like give more credit to like these like that like weird world and space that they like. But like in terms of like goals, I mean, I just like want to make art and like have people feel for it or like make people uncomfortable. Like that's a big like I guess goal of mine. I love making people uncomfortable in my work. I want to remind them that like not everything is a safe space, and what is a safe space for me is probably not a safe space for you. So I want to like redefine like I want to create my own sort of safe space for others to like be able to like find a sense of self in it.
Gotcha. Entonces me ocurrió ahora, even though it would connect more with the question that I asked earlier. But when doing video collages, what would you say has been el que más tiempo te tomó hacer? Because I know there's a lot of editing that goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of editing. The piece I just finished, I have 7 drafts of it. So there's a lot of editing and revision that goes into it. I think it's mainly just collecting footage and the curatorial part of it, because I'm constantly collecting footage. Like I have the longest YouTube and like playlists and like folders that are like full in my laptop just of all this weird vintage porn and like gifts and like whatever. Like I'm just constantly collecting things. So I guess that in a sense, but that always just happens organically as I'm like naturally on the web, or if I'm bored one afternoon, you know, I like I'm gonna go down a YouTube K-hole and see what happens, you know, and like find all these cool things. But there's no like set goal in mind. Like before, I used to like operate like these are the images that are coming up to me, and I'll write a list of certain images, and then I'm gonna look for them. Now it's kind of like I have like certain ones that I'm looking for in mind, but it's kind of just like a general archive. So I feel like the longest process is curatorial, like curating what goes into a video collage, because you have so much content, and you just like I have a problem where I just want to stuff in so much information, so much you know content. I'm just like I want to feed everything to you, and various people have told me like, Sophia, you have enough work here. Like you don't have to have this over the dialogue or this image over here. Like you know this has the image itself carries enough. So it's like a matter of like what's hardest is like cutting down and choosing what to be included and what's included.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can relate so much to what you just said. Because when I was discovering the internet as a kid, I would save so many JPEGs and GIFs. It was crazy.
Right, you just want to like save it all. You want to have the internet like
really
on top.
Exactly. I think it's like that sense of like collecting things. I don't know what it is.
You just want to have access to it all the time, and like I have this fear, especially like from porn sites. They take down things a lot. So when I find something, I like need to download it the second up, because I'm like it could be gone tomorrow. Like I need this right now, and like probably I'll never use it, or like I'll use it for a second and like sit. But like I just like have this like obsession where like I need this imagery, and it's funny to me to like having started as like creating images, and now I'm going as far as like collecting images, you know, and that's my practice now, which is like I think interesting.
Yeah. So if you were to tell me the amount of hard drives or USBs or what have you that you have with, let's just say, video, would you say it is like a terabyte full of information, or?
I probably have 2 terabytes.
Woof.
Yeah, I have 2 terabytes full of shit. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Damn.
And then this next semester, I'm very much heavily considering taking like a coding class because I want to start like dealing with like interactive interfaces and stuff. So like that's only gonna grow. Like I'm just gonna like blow up my laptop with like from space.
Damn. I don't know, but I think you kind of inspired me to do, because I usually do like, I try to practice regular collage, but now video collage seems like a very interesting medium to explore.
Yeah, if you want to talk about it another time or like whatever more in depth, I'm happy to. Like I love video collage.
Awesome. I was gonna ask, do you have anything right now that you're doing like personally outside of college, or like a new piece, a new video photography project?
I mean, I like the piece I just finished on. I tend to work independent from school, so like I get these guidelines from school, and instead of like trying to make work that like fits into that, I like make work that I want to make and then like alter it so it fits into that, so like my original intention is still there, and then when I present it in class it's like the way it needs to be, and then may or may not be the final version, it may just be to satisfy professors and stuff or like whatever, because I feel like having like personal projects is fair and it's like an understandable thing, especially when you're given like these like guided assignments with like rules and stuff, but I just don't work that way. So the piece I just finished, literally I finished like on Sunday, has taken me like 4 or 5 months to do, and right now I'm like brainstorming on this like new like text piece thing that I want to work on, but I'm like literally it's like not even a fetus yet. It's like the sperm has just entered like the area, like it's still figuring itself out. There's so much going on in my mind. Like my creative process is very disorganized, but very organized to me, like I understand it, but like I'm sure out to anyone else outside it looks like a mess. So I'm just kind of like trying to figure out like what my summer project is right now. Because I just wasted all my creative power on, not wasted, I used all my creative power on the last video I just put out.
How long was that?
How long ago was it, or how long the video is?
How long is the video, and what's it called? Can people find it anywhere?
The video is called Off the Highway Like Another Deer. It's on my Vimeo page. It's on my website. I shared it on Facebook. It's pretty. If you like Vimeo Off the Highway Like Another Deer, it's gonna pop up. Trigger warning. Animals getting killed and like parasites. I should mention that, and like strict nudity and stuff. It's not for the homophobes, that's for sure. I don't want to call it queer art. It definitely touches upon the subject, but like not safe for work, basically.
I think I saw part of it before, like when I was doing research for the questions, and based on the little time that I saw, I think it's safe to say that you're somewhat inspired by surrealism. Is it too far to say that, or?
No, I don't think it's too far to say that. I definitely am inspired by like surrealism and stuff. One of my favorite novelists is a surrealist. I just like crazy. I kind of like making narratives out of like pieces of fiction and like just building them together slowly.
Te voy a preguntar, your website, and where can people find you or connect with you through the social media scapes?
My website is sofiaalfaro.com. Sofia with an F. I just made it. It's brand new. I'm so happy with it. And then on Instagram you can find, which is Nenix Guapex, so NENXGUAPX, which is like a tattoo I have on my knees. And yeah, I mean, I pretty much share like my work everywhere. But I guess my website is definitely worth checking out if you're interested in like looking at my weird conglomerations of whatever.
Of whatever, more like experience of yourself. So don't call them whatever.
True.
Last question. What would you tell a young kid looking to get into any form of art?
Let's see. What would I tell a young kid? I would say like, don't listen to rules. Like, if someone tells you, like, you have to draw a certain way, you have to take photographs a certain way, or, like, this doesn't count as art, like, that's not true. Like, what you make is art. And just to keep trying, and, like, failure is your best success. The amount of, like, things I've been, like, rejected from, I can make a whole CV of. They say you should have, like, a list of, like 100 rejections a year from, like, submissions to, like, you know, to just, like, as proof and, like, solidify that you submit to things all the time and make things all the time. So like, don't let other people get you down, and like always like look at critique positively and like smart. Like they're not there to like make you feel bad or to find problems in your work. Like that's not their goal. Their goal is to help you. So if someone goes out of their way to, or like just organically critique your work, like, you know, they're taking their time to talk about your work and like get to know what you want to do and what you're trying to do. So like, you know, be appreciative. Like even if it's like negative feedback, it's like it's not working. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not working. You have to do something else or like alter it a little bit. It doesn't mean it's bad. So like, you know, art is just like failure, trial and error, and then sometimes things works out. It's very much like scientific in that sense. I feel like it's a very similar process. So just like keep going at it. Like failure is like not a big deal.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you so much for having me.
SofiaAlfaro.com, right?
Yeah, SofiaAlfaro.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophie. It's been a wonderful talk, very eye-opening in certain topics, to be honest. Anything else before we shut down the podcast?
No, I don't think so. I mean, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored to be like, wow, I'm relevant enough to be on a podcast.
It's awesome. So, SofiaAlfaro.com, right?
Yes.
Awesome. FENcast with Sofía Raquel Higgins Alfaro. We are done.